Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China, and in spite of the fact that I'm here in the gym hitting the Speedbag, welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. So I'm multitasking today, getting the workout while I answer you guys the questions, getting the blood flowing. Maybe that'll help me think a little better, who knows? But we'll see. Hope you don't mind the breathing. So I had a bunch of questions on one of my recent videos about, it's titled something like MMA, but without striking. And again, that might sound like it's just submission grappling, but there are a ton of different submission grappling rule sets, a ton of them, most of which are radically different from MMA. You know, many things are banned, slams, for example. But you know, even if you allowed every technique that is allowed in MMA, the whole structure, round system, scoring system is totally different. I mean, imagine a grappling tournament with 3 5-minute rounds, 1 minute rest in between, scored on a 10-point must system, you know, like MMA and boxing. I mean, think about that. You might think, how do you score a round without strikes? Well, you absolutely can. I judge a lot of professional fights. I most recently worked for Dragon Fighting Championships, where I got this sweet hoodie, right? I've ref fights for them, judged fights for them, and yes, great job, love it. But how do you judge a round where no strikes have landed? Well, we're looking for 3 factors in judging fights: damage, domination, and duration, right? And if nobody's damaging the other guy, we're looking at the other 2 factors: domination and duration. So let's say we have a fight where no strikes land, right? No strikes at all land. One guy gets a takedown, passes the other guy's guard, starts smothering him, squishing him. All right. Gets on top and mount. Maybe he's trying to get in a good position to land a strike, but he's having a hard time getting there, but he's just crushing the other dude, right? And this goes on for a while, goes on for 5 minutes. How do we score that round? Okay, the guy on top, the guy who got the takedown, the guy who hustled, the guy who did more to win, even though no damage was done, he dominated for a long duration of time, so he gets the round. We're not looking at points like you do in, say, BJJ, where you got 4 points for mount, 3 points for the guard pass. No, there's no point scoring system like that at all. Not even a little bit. Again, we're looking at damage, domination, and duration. And that's it. Oh, wow. Try to get fancy there. See what that is. So, allow me to tell you what this pattern is for at some point. My question to you, as far as submission grappling goes, what do you believe would be the best, most entertaining, most interesting, and perhaps most realistic rule set for submission grappling? So anytime you change the rules even a little bit, it makes a big difference. Do you remember how a couple of years ago the IBJJF changed one rule just for the white belts? Just for the white belts, no one else. And that was white belts are no longer allowed to jump guard. Okay? Because they had a problem. Jumping guard leads to more injuries in BJJ than any other technique. Why? Because you jump guard at the wrong moment when the other guy's not expecting it, and you blow his knees out. His knees get bent backwards. Man, I made a whole video about this, it's disgusting. So white belts no longer allowed to jump guard. And they did this for safety, but it had an unexpected effect. So right after this rule is passed, I go to an IBJJF tournament, and I'm looking at the colored belts and the black belts competing, and they're all jumping guard, because like 90% of the time in IBJJF tournaments, that's what happens. Everybody's a guard player, right? Why spend a significant amount of time wrestling? Well, that's only going to get you 2 points for a sweep. A sweep will also get you 2 points. And a submission is an automatic win, so just pull guard and sweep and submit, whatever, right? Invest your time there as far as that rule set goes. But the white belts were different, way different. Suddenly, they started wrestling, and it was cool. It was really cool. These guys are fighting for top position, and the white belt matches suddenly became so much more interesting than the black belt matches and the brown belt matches and the purples and the blues, right? Then all the more advanced players, and what I saw there was more advanced grappling. Not necessarily jiu-jitsu groundwork, but more advanced, realistic grappling in many ways as far as mixed martial arts is concerned. That's what the white belts were doing translates over to mixed martial arts very well. What the black belts were doing, not so much. Weird, right? And that's just one tiny little change. Now, if you offer that change to the black belts as well, yeah, their game would change as well. We'd see a whole lot less guard pulling and a lot more emphasis on, hey, let's fix our wrestling. Let's stop ignoring that. One of my viewers suggested a really cool idea for a rule change. Something else the IBJJF or really any other organization that bans slams could do. So it's understandable they ban slams because, you know, those can hurt people. They can be very dangerous. But it's also very unrealistic to lift your opponent off the ground and just camp out there up in the sky in your guard. Oh, this dude's lifting you up, holding you mercifully, not slamming you only because the rules dictate it. He suggested if you can pick your opponent up off the ground, hold him in the air for a second, and then place him safely back on the ground, you should get 4 points for that. And I thought to myself, that sounds like a really good idea. Essentially, that's a position that says, I can kill you. I can finish this fight, potentially. Because we do the exact same thing in the IBJJF with the other scoring positions. We do. And think about it, mount, back mount, knee mount. Sure, those are advantageous positions for grappling, but what do they really represent? Why do you get 4 points for the position? You know, whether you work for a submission there or not, in mount or back mount. I'll tell you why. Because in a fight, you mount somebody and you control them for 3 or 4 seconds, and you are landing significant strikes the whole time. What happens? A referee jumps in and saves that man's life, raises your hand and says, winner by TKO. You. Same thing from knee mount. Knee mount is, it's a weird position in sport grappling. It's not the position that all the submissions are happening from. But in MMA, it's a transitionary position where if you can control it for a few seconds, you can beat the living snot out of your opponent and win by TKO pretty quickly in short order. Back mount too. I mean, look at Hicks and Gracie's old Vale Tudo fights before they disallowed strikes to the back of the head. He'd take back mount. He wasn't choking people. He was clubbing them in the back of the head with his elbows. With his elbows. In the back of the head. Now imagine, you get back mount in a no rules Vale Tudo fight, meaning everything goes, including elbows to the back of the head. Okay? That's a fight finishing position, whether you can choke him or not. So why is it that we do not award points for the other positions where fights are finished in the context of grappling, such as lifting in a position where you could slam? Because mount is a position where you could strike and finish from there. Back mount is a position where you could strike and finish from there. Knee mount is a position where you could strike and finish from there. And it takes skill, it takes technique to obtain those positions, And the exact same is true of lifting your opponent off the mat from his guard or from a submission attempt. Somebody suggested, well, that sounds cool. Why not add this idea that if you can lift someone up and place them down again, that you reset position. And I think, no, that's not a great idea, because slams don't always finish fights. They often do, but they don't always. I mean, I've been slammed in professional fights before. I was fighting this dude named Mike Bullock, and he slammed me 3 times. And I was fine, you know. I tucked my chin, didn't land on my head, you know, rounded my back, and the same basic principles as break falls and tumbling, and I didn't really get hurt. And he slammed me 3 times, I was fine. Right? And what position did we remain in each time? We remained in the guard. Now, it's possible, if Mike had done that with, you know, worse intentions, more power, whatever, or better technique, he would have finished that fight on the first slam, let alone the second or the third. But he didn't, and we remained in the guard. So in the MMA fight, sure, the judges were definitely looking at Mike. He was doing damage with those strikes. Not a lot, but, you know, he was doing some. He was definitely dominating the top position. You know, he's controlling that situation, lifting me up in the air, slamming me, despite what I was trying to do in the guard on the bottom. And there was significant duration. 3 slams, up, boom, down, up, boom, down, up, boom, down. Significant duration for those slams. So who's winning? Who's winning that round? Mike definitely won that round for sure. He won the fight, in fact. Quick note about that fight. Sherdog says that he won by armbar. That's not actually true. The referee stopped the match, believing that I had tapped when I reached up to grab his leg, attempting to change my position. He erred on the side of caution. I know this is me making excuses for losing. You know, I was already losing that fight. I was beaten pretty badly. I'm just saying, it wasn't an armbar. Right? If the fight had continued, Mike probably would have won by TKO. Most likely, if he kept doing what he was doing. So, nothing taken away from Mike right there. Excellent job. I mean, that was a long time ago. Just letting you know, Sherdog records are not accurate. I think it says I'm like 5'10", I'm 6'1", 185 centimeters tall. It says I'm like 147 pounds. I don't even know where they got that. I fought one pro MMA fight, and I also did one kickboxing match at 145 pounds. I weighed in at 145 pounds, not 147. I walk around at 205 pounds, 93 kilos, give or take. I'm missing about 10 of my fights on that record. Anyway, enough about Sherdog. It's really annoying when internet trolls watch my videos and start trying to have a measuring contest with me, and they look up my Sherdog record and they're like, oh, you just have 3 wins and 4 losses. You suck. From dudes who have 0 wins, 0 losses, 0 fights, 0 experience, and 0 self-esteem. And it's sad. Anyway, little pet peeve of mine. Not about these internet trolls, just about the inaccuracies of Sherdog. Man, I remember there was this dude who ran a rival gym for a while who hated my guts here in Shanghai way back when, and he tried to ruin my Sherdog record even more. He had a friend who submitted fight data to Sherdog and convinced him to submit a bunch of fake fights. Fake fights for himself, saying he had won fights that never happened. fake fights for people he didn't like, saying they had lost, fights that had never happened. I remember I checked my Sherdog record once and it said I fought this dude named Li Xiaolong, that's Bruce Lee in Chinese. I was like, what the heck? I never fought a dude named Li Xiaolong. I never fought Bruce Lee. So I looked into it and found out what happened, contacted Sherdog, and I'm like, guys, this dude doesn't even exist. And as proof, I submitted evidence of where I actually was on that day. Got that amended. See, when you take a lot of videos of your life, you got an alibi, man, for where you were and when and where. Anyway, we're talking about points in grappling, right? So if you were to change, so let's say IBJJF rules, right? To make a few tweaks there, to make it better, to make it more exciting, to make it more fair, or maybe you love the rules and don't want them to change at all. And let me know in the comments, what would you change? How would it be different? What is your ideal grappling tournament like? What's the rule set? Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.
NoGiBJJGear.com is now xmartial.com, serving your needs beyond just no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, find brand new equipment for mixed martial arts, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, and more at xmartial.com. As always, use my code Ramsey10 for 10% off everything on the website. Once again, that's xmartial.com. And also, shout out to Relx Bit, makers of fine, high-powered massage guns. Link in the description below as well. Oh yeah, I got a discount code for that one too. Not gonna leave you hanging dry there.